Hello everyone, welcome back to Russell's Movie Reviews, the show where I review stuff that's mostly created good, maybe one of the best movies of all time, or a film that absolutely sucks and should remain in the depths of hell. Now, last week we obviously discussed Batman the movie from 1966, and now we are really getting into the Batman marathon. So, obviously you guys could tell by the title and the thumbnail, today we're going to be reviewing and discussing Batman, released in 1989 and directed by Tim Burton. Now, this film kind of has a very interesting production because, really, after the release of Superman in 1978, he had his run of films and kind of ended off on the bad note with Superman 4, but, no one was really interested in doing a dark interpretation of Batman. Because before, there was obviously only really the 60s show, and even before that with the serials, which honestly at that time no one really remembered. So yeah, it was just like the 60s show was at the front of everyone's minds. Like, oh, is it going to be campy like the 60s show? Or, what are we going to do? So it didn't help much that, when they announced some of the cast members that they were like, okay, well, these are kind of comedy actors. Is this really going to work? And lo and behold, it turned out to be one of the one of the biggest, films of all time in the 80s. Because Warner Brothers did release a teaser basically showing that, this was going to be a dark interpretation of Batman. And it was going to be taken seriously. No screwing around, no nothing like that. And once everyone saw that teaser, everyone was like, okay, maybe we should go and see it, because maybe there is something enjoyable. This kind of revitalized the superhero genre back in the 80s. Because, like I said, Superman 1 and 2 were massive successes. Even 3, even though, that has divisive opinions. I personally like it. But I can't, be totally biased and say, that some of the comedy moments don't work at all. And Superman 4 is a massive guilty pleasure, in my opinion. I can still enjoy it. In fact, for the longest time, I thought it was an actually good Superman movie. But now I notice, all the stupid plot holes, nothing that makes sense. But it's still a fun movie to watch. Whereas another movie later on, it's kind of lumped in that same category, and is actually 10 times worse. But anyway, this was made with a budget of $35 million, which, if you actually watch the movie, you'd be none the wiser to say that, oh yeah, this was only made with a budget of 35 million. You thought it would be at least 60 to 90 million. So, yeah, it's very surprising. Domestically, it made 250 worldwide, over 250 million domestically, and worldwide it made over 411 million. So this was a massive box office success. And might as well mention it right now because, everyone mentions it whenever they talk about this movie, is, Batman was the most successful movie in 1989 in America. 250 million, that's pretty good numbers. But I think worldwide, it only came second to the most popular film in 1989 worldwide, and that is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Which I will eventually talk about at some point. So, maybe whenever Indiana Jones 5 is finally going to actually go into production or some crap like that. But, yeah. So, everyone pretty much knows the story of this Batman movie, but for those who haven't, or who don't know, I'll give you the brief summary. So, after having witnessed his parents' brutal murder as a child, millionaire Bruce Wayne, played by, in this film, Michael Keaton, fights crime in Gotham City disguised as the vigilante Batman, a costumed hero who strikes fear into the hearts of criminals. But when a deformed madman who calls himself the Joker, in this film played by Jack Nicholson, seizes control of Gotham's criminal underworld, Batman must face his most ruthless nemesis ever while protecting both his identity and his love interest, reporter Vicki Vale, played by Kim Basinger. So, yeah, it's a pretty standard Batman plot. From the sounds of it, it does sound like a good origin story, but it really isn't. The film starts with Batman already, working around the lower levels of Gotham City, and there's only one scene in the entire film that actually goes into his backstory, which we'll get to later. But it really isn't an origin story as more as it is just another Batman story, really. How the Joker came to be, um, and how they ultimately face off in the end. This being in the summer of '89, which this was released on June 23rd of '89, there is, I don't think that Warner Brothers would have really been like, okay, well, let's make a super enhanced drama about Batman, because I highly doubt that the movie would have been as successful as it was if it was like a drama sort of like crime thriller, as more or less as the dark superhero movie as it became to be. But so yeah, let's go over the cast really, because that's probably one of the biggest parts about this movie, and what everyone really praises this movie for is it's kind of ensemble cast of really well-known actors. So let's get to that. So going over the cast, we obviously first have millionaire
philanthropist
Bruce Wayne, also his alter ego as Batman, who is played by Michael Keaton. Now, Michael Keaton back then, at the time of this film's release, was not obviously a controversial actor, but when Warner Brothers announced that he would be playing Batman, people were like, "Really? That guy is gonna be Batman?" You have, so basically you're telling me that the guy who played Mr. Mom in Beetlejuice is playing Batman. And yes, the whole deal for Keaton to play because Tim Burton was asked, or I think he was asked to be a part of Batman, or most likely he wanted to be the director for Batman, and Warner Brothers, who also distributed his previous film Beetlejuice, which was released the year before, if that film was successful and made money, he was allowed to go on to Batman. Obviously, Beetlejuice was a success, which ironically also stars Michael Keaton, and he was allowed to go and direct Batman. And I think he did ask Michael Keaton if he wanted to play Batman, and he took the role. But again, people were like, "Really, Mr. Mom is playing Batman?" So people were like very angry about this decision, and even according to some rumors, people even started protests to say like, get rid of Keaton as Batman. So that's why they released the teaser trailer, was because to put down to rest anyone's like thoughts like, oh, Michael Keaton's gonna be a shit Batman, he's gonna ruin the entire film. That it's like, this is gonna be a dark ass Batman movie, and Michael Keaton is Batman, and everyone's like, okay, we should actually see like what this guy can do, because he could actually be like a really good Batman. And in my personal opinion, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, he is the best Batman in my opinion. We've had, Adam West, who really does do the goofy kind of 60s Batman, which I do like. But again, he's not my Batman. Val Kilmer in Batman Forever, Actually, I have it right here. In Val Kilmer and Batman Forever, you know, he is good as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne, he is a little weak, in my opinion. And then don't even get me started on fucking George Clooney. Just no. Christian Bale, he is a really good Bruce Wayne, possibly better than Michael Keaton. But his Batman is, oh my god, I I legit could not even sit through first time watching Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I could not stand his fucking Batman voice. It was just so weak. Um, and then we had Ben Affleck, who I think did a okay job, and now we have Robert Pattinson, who does a very good job, and definitely in my top 5 favorite Batman performances. Um, but for me, it would always be Michael Keaton as Batman. Like, Michael Keaton is my Batman, without a doubt, because he does a very good Batman performance, but also does a very good Bruce Wayne performance. He does bring out, like, the really, like, sad side of Bruce Wayne a lot throughout both of his films, you know, in both Batman and, no, wrong one, and Batman Returns, which obviously I'm going to be discussing this film next week. But, you know, I mean, yeah, he does get I feel like that he does get criticized for just acting like himself instead of acting like Bruce Wayne. But I feel like that's kind of like how he would be, because technically whoever plays the role of Batman, they have 3 roles to play. They have Bruce Wayne the millionaire, the personality that everyone sees. Bruce Wayne as he is like at Wayne Manor, which is kind of like a, you know, down to earth kind of sad person, and then Batman. And I personally think that Michael Keaton nails all 3 different personalities. Even though he doesn't really play the millionaire kind of douchebaggery Bruce Wayne in both of his films, it still is a very, very good performance. Um, we have Jackie Nicholson as the Joker, who might be my favorite part about this movie. He pulls off a fantastic Joker. And his human alter ego before he gets dropped into the vat of chemicals, Jack Napier. You know, he pulls off both of them very good. He was, I think, the producer's first choice to play the Joker, and might as well throw this other fun fact in since it is about him. Jack Nicholson usually back then accepted a paycheck of about $10 million, but for this film he accepted a check of about $6 million, while also taking a percentage of the film's box office gross. How much percentage he got, I'm not exactly sure, because everyone online just keeps on saying he got a percentage. Like, it doesn't say like, oh, you got like 5% or, you know, some crap like that. You know, like with Marlon Brando on Superman, I think he got like a 1.5% of the film's box office gross. But overall, once the film became a hit and, you know, everyone started going crazy for the merchandise, he banked about $60 million, which was unheard of back then. And I think in 2003 he got the Guinness Book record for, you know, getting like the most amount of money from a film's box office gross. We have Kim Basinger as Vicki Vale, who is the love interest for Batman in this film. She does good. You know, everyone complains about her being, you know, too like screamy, and I could see that. But that's, you know, I can easily overlook that because she's still like a tough-headed woman. Like, she takes like really like no shit. and that's why I really like for a the love interest for the main character. Like that's why I like Lois Lane in the Superman films, because she doesn't. I mean, yeah, she gets captured. That's her fucking job, basically. Besides the work at the Daily Planet, her fucking job in a Superman related property is to get captured on a daily basis. But like in those films, they made her into like a round, a tough-headed character, and not just some damsel in distress. And yes, there have been other interpretations, like in the old serials in the 40s, and even sometimes in the animated series too. But they still make her into a actual character instead of the fucking damsel in distress. And I can say the same thing about Vicki Vale. Moving on though, we have Michael Goff as Alfred Pennyworth, who is without a doubt the best Alfred in any Batman movie. Because he lasted all 4 of the 90s films. I mean, yeah, I know this is 89, but still, the other films were released in the 90s, so whatever. So yeah, he went from, Batman to Returns to Forever, and then ending with Batman and Robin. So yeah, he lasted throughout all of them, and still was able to pull out a great performance in all of them, which shows you a great, credit to him, because at this point he was getting old, like really old. But he was still able to pull out a fucking great performance, and he is the best Alfred. Because in my opinion, the 60s show Alfred was kind of forgettable. The one in the animated series is good, but honestly not as good as Michael Goff. Michael Caine is a very good Alfred, though. He probably would be second. And really everyone else after him, it's just kind of forgettable. Where it's like some films, it's like, wow, was there an Alfred in this? The most recent example, obviously, is in The Batman. I think he does a good job with it, but in my opinion, Michael Goff is my Alfred. We have Pat Hingle as James Gordon. Now, his performance is a little bit mixed, on my opinion. Not in this film. I think in this film he does a very good job. But in the other films, it's more debatable. I don't know whether or not he appears in Returns. Most likely he probably does. I know in Forever he does, and I know in Robin he does for a couple scenes. So yeah, he's in all. I believe he's in all of them. In his performance varies throughout each film, and I'll get to why when I review those films over the next few weeks. But in this film, I think he does a very good job. With the stuff that he's given. We have Robert Wool as Alexander Knox, who is I think he was a made-up character for the film. And he does get translated to the comic book adaptation and the novelization, but I don't think he has become a character ever since this film. Which, honestly, is for better, because I just see him as kind of a hindrance in the scenes that he's in. Except for the one scene, like, where he's, when the Joker is, like, in, like, the parade, and he starts, like, spewing all, like, the laughing gas everywhere. He actually does, do something, even though, like, it barely affects the goons. Like, he grabs, like, a baseball bat, and he's, like, trying to attack them. And he's like, yeah, you actually did something good before you basically got knocked the fuck out by a couple of trash cans. We have the first interpretation of Harvey Dent in the Batman series. The film series, really, because he didn't appear in the 60s movie. In this film, he's played by Billy D. Williams, who I believe is most famous for his role as Lando Calrissian in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In this film, he barely has a role, really. Um, I think there's only really a couple scenes where he really does make it like have a scene. There's the opening conference where he's pointed as district attorney, and then when I think the criminal bosses are executed in public by the Joker and his goons. There's a news broadcast that shows him on there. And then at the end, when he's like, I have received a letter from Batman. Beside, fucking sorry about that. There's a fucking garbage truck that fucking just drove by there while I'm in the middle of recording. Asshole. And you know he barely makes it a impact in this film, but the character of Harvey Dent returns in Batman Forever. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks, and I'll compare the two performances, because in this film he doesn't play the Two-Face character. He only plays Harvey Dent, but in Batman Returns, he is Two-Face at this point. But the thing is, they never explain really what happened. But again, we'll talk about that in a few weeks. Anyway, and finally we have I guess a B movie horror actor, Jack Palance, who plays Carl Grissom, who I think is the first film adaptation of Carl Grissom. Or I think this is the first live-action appearance of Carl Grissom in any Batman property. Because I don't know if he appears in the 40 serials, or I don't think he pops up in the 1960s show. So technically, this is the first live-action appearance of Carl Grissom, who is the boss of Jack Napier before he gets thrown into the vat of chemicals. So, yeah. I guess to talk about favorite scenes, you know, I can easily class this entire film as a favorite scene, because honestly, I fucking love this film. So, yeah, screw it. Favorite scene is the entire film. But might as well address the elephant in the room before I move on to anything else, because I know this is going to be a point of, not contention, but some people are going to, mention it possibly in my comment section is, why do you only have, I got to sort these out. Why do you only have the 2010 Blu-rays? I think, at least I think they're from 2010. Yes, they're all from yeah. So why do you have the 2010 Blu-rays and not the 4Ks? Well, one, honestly, I already had this particular copy of Batman on Blu-ray. So if I was gonna get all of them on 4K, I would have to rebuy Batman again on 4K, which really I'm not a big fan of doing, so I was like, okay, well, might as well just pick up all of the, the 2010 Blu-rays, so that, it matches, so. But the more bigger reason is that the 4K of Batman 89 in particular did come with a lot of controversy when it came out. There's a lot of videos that go and discuss into it, but to put it simply, it was the fact that the picture quality, it was good. It wasn't true 4K, but they added like a blue tint to the pictures. So whereas like if you compare this Blu-ray to the 4K, this is technically what, I don't think it's exactly what it looks like, but this is more or less what it looks like in like the theaters and like from the original 35mm prints. Whereas the 4K, it literally just looks like someone just splashed a whole bunch of blue paint all over it, and it was like, okay, well, that's our film. But that wasn't really the biggest problem, and I can easily overlook that. The more, the bigger problem was with the sound mix. So, might as well go over all the features that this Blu-ray has. So it comes with a commentary by director Tim Burton on the set with Bob Gale, Legends of the Dark Knight, The History of Batman. The comic book saga is renovated and reinterpreted over 7 decades. Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic saga of the Dark Knight, parts 1 through 3, which are The Road to Gotham City, The Gathering Storm, and The Legend Reborn. Several Beyond Batman documentary gallery, which is several documentaries pretty much. 3 Prince music videos, which is The Bat Dance, Party Man, and Scandalous. The Heroes of the Villains profile galleries, Batman, the complete Robin storyboard sequence, and the theatrical trailer. But, all of the special features that are on this were transferred over to the 4K, so you're not getting anything new with the 4K. But the biggest thing is that it comes with a Dolby Digital track and a Dolby True HD 5.1 mix, as well as a Dolby Digital 5.1 mix as well. With the 4K, they added a Dolby Atmos track, which usually, means a good thing. But for Batman, what they did is that they added a whole bunch of new sound effects, like gun sound effects. And I'll probably link a video in the description below to a review that someone did on the 4K, and they actually did compare certain scenes from this Blu-ray to the 4K, and show you like, oh yeah, like the two different sound mixes, and the sound mix on the 4K it's not that good. Like, okay, if you were trying to replace all the old sound effects, okay. But they honestly didn't even do a good job, because there are certain parts, especially in the Axis chemical fight, between the Joker's goons and the cops, you could still hear some of the old gunshot sound effects in the new mix. Where it's like, well, weren't you trying to replace all the old ones? But granted, like, people wouldn't have had that much of an issue. But the thing is that the 4K disc only included the Dolby Atmos track, and didn't have the Dolby True HD track, or not even the Dolby Digital 5.1 track. So you couldn't switch between the two. So the only track that you can get on the 4K was the Dolby Atmos track, that has all the new sound effects. So if you wanted to get a HD presentation, at least, of the film, of what it originally looked like, and with the old sound effects, you had to get the 2010 Blu-ray, or any of the other ones that came out, like the Steelbook or the Digipack. Basically, any Blu-ray release that came out before the 4K, you had basically, I think that you pretty much had the 2010 disc. Which is a shame, because honestly, I was kind of anticipating the 4K. But then hearing people say, like, it has, the strange color tinting, and the audio mix is all screwed up, and you can't even switch between them, I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to go for it. I'm just going to get the rest of them from the 2010 editions, and not the 4K editions. And even if I did go for all the other 4Ks, apparently Batman Returns had the same issue as Batman, where it had, like, the blue tinting. I don't know about the audio track being updated sound effects, but I know that for the color tinting with this was also, like, a bluish tint. In terms of the Joel Schumacher films, I haven't really heard anything about that. So if anyone who has all the 4Ks, leave me a comment down below, and let me know what the Joel Schumacher films look like on 4K, because I don't really know if they had the same problem as the Tim Burton films did. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Um, so yeah, that's why I pretty much went for the 2010 editions anyway. So just to clarify that right now. Um, but yeah, the presentation on this looks very good. It does not appear to have any scratches in the print. Um, but there are some dodgy. But might as well talk about the visual effects. They are they are pretty good. I wouldn't say that this is as good as like the Superman films, because unfortunately this did use a lot of blue screen instead of like front projection. Um, so like a lot of the colors are washed out, especially in the near the end when Batman's in the Batwing and he's like flying around, and there's like the cockpit shots with Batman in the cockpit. You can tell it's shot on the blue screen because you can tell like the skin on his chin is very saturated and very like it has like all the color washed out in it. Um, so and even with the 4K, they didn't even fix that either because there's also some shots at the end when Batman and Vicki Vale are hanging off the side of the the uh, the the church, I guess, and there's certain shots where the Joker's jacket it's supposed to be purple, but it changes to like a red, and that's because of the chemical processing of blue screen that kind of washed the colors out and changed them. So yeah, and like for like the same problems that Superman had back then is that like the logo on Batman's like the Batman logo, all the yellow was washed out, so it basically looked like a white logo with like a bat signal on it. So yeah, um, and by the way, might as well mention it. This is my favorite Batman suit out of all of them. You know, in Batman Returns they slightly refined it, but it's more or less the same suit. Batman Forever they did. It looks good, but the second design, it's not my cup of tea. Batman and Robin, kind of the same thing, but the second suit in that film is fucking garbage. The Batman Begins one is fairly good. The Dark Knight, I'm not a particular fan of, which is also more or less the same one in The Dark Knight Rises. Because of like all like the metal like I don't know how to describe it, but like all like the metal parts of it that are like really exposed, where it's like someone could literally just cut themselves on it, and it just looks weird. The Ben Affleck suit, it looks good. That's all I can say about it. And the Robin Pattinson suit is basically if you took the Keaton suit and the Bale suit from especially from the Dark Knight, mix them two together, and boom, that's what you get. And I really do like it. But yeah, this is my Batman suit. Like it's my favorite throughout the entire series. Um, so yeah, and now we're gonna talk about the music, and oh boy, this is gonna be a fun part to talk about. And I'm not actually saying that in a sarcastic way. I legit mean this. The music for both Batman and Batman Returns was composed by Danny Elfman. Uh, but obviously we're gonna be talking about the first film. This score is fucking amazing. Uh, it has a very energetic feeling. You know, the Batman theme in this movie is the Batman theme, in my opinion, because you have the Batman Begins theme, where it pretty much lasts throughout the entire trilogy. So I just call it the Dark Knight theme. That one is okay, but it does kind of sound like a generic, like one of the generic like superheroes themes that you would hear around that time. Uh, Batman v Superman, I don't even think there was a Batman theme for that. And Robert Pattinson, the Batman theme, uh, it is a good theme for Batman. I do really like it, but the Batman theme from 1989 is the Batman theme for me, and the entire score is my favorite out of the entire Batman series. Um, I think there was an expanded edition released a few years back, but it is sold out. But you can get a 4-disc edition on La La Land Records. It's both Batman and Batman Returns in a single set. I think right now it is temporary out of stock. Um, but they might come back with a new set out relatively soon. But yeah, this is one of my favorite Batman's. No, this is my favorite Batman score of all time. Uh, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I can easily listen to this anytime. My favorite tracks in the entire film is the opening and end credits theme. But if I had to pick one track in the entire film, like in the actual film itself, and not the opening and ending, it's the Descent into Mystery track when Batman has Vicki Vale in the Batmobile and is driving to the Batcave. That whole track is fucking amazing, and I legit listened to that a lot when I was working on this series because I just had to get into that Batman vibe, and that just like, oh my god, that made me just like get right into the Batman feel. Um, and I guess to talk about the elephant in the room, because this is the biggest complaint that most people have with this film, is why did the Joker, or actually no, right now, I mean yeah, there was a header at the beginning, but right now, if you have not seen Batman 1989, massive spoilers right here, because uh, you know, this basically spoils kind of the end of the like what happens at the end. So fair warning, if you don't want it spoiled, stop or skip ahead a bit to when I'm talking about my ranking and shit. But if you don't care or you have seen the movie, let's continue. So the two biggest complaints that people have talked about online, and I can sort of see where they're coming from, is why did the Joker kill Batman's parents, and why was Vicki Vale let into the Batcave by Alfred? Those are the two biggest plot contrivances in the film that people have nitpicked to death and have said why this one isn't the best Batman movie. Now, I both like and hate one of these scenes. I'll just say that right now. The scene that I like out of the two is actually Batman's parents being killed by the Joker. Because I'm like, yeah, because I think in the comics, it was explained that Batman's parents were killed by Joe Chill. Obviously not the Joker. But I think for this film, it works. Because you can't obviously have every single new timeline or every single new start for Batman. You can't just have Batman's parents were killed by Joe Chill. You have to change it up a bit. And I do like the fact that they did divert from that and say, oh, let's make the Joker as a younger person kill his parents, because that does bring up the interesting dynamic between the two in this film particularly, and I do like it where in the beginning when the Joker is Jack Napier in the Axis chemical plant, after he attempts to shoot Gordon, Batman stops him, and his sidekick Bob is like, let him go or else I'll kill Commissioner Gordon. And so Batman sets him down. Joker picks up his gun and goes to shoot him, and Batman's gone. So after Jack Napier kills one of the other police commissioners that was being bribed by him, Batman appears again. Joker attempts to shoot him, but Batman deflects it. The bullet goes into his face and he falls over. Batman attempts to save him, but Joker falls into a vat of chemicals, which makes him into the Joker. That is correct. That is from the comics. But with this film interpretation, with the Joker killing his parents, it does bring up a interesting dynamic where, the Joker's where he's the Batman, after during their fight and the clock tower at the end, the Batman's I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, you idiot, you made me. And then, like, after he beats him up a little bit more, Batman's like, you killed my parents. And he's like, what? And like, I killed them. Like, who knows parents I killed, that were yours? And he's like, you made me. No, I made you. You made me first. And I'm like, oh, shit. That is a good dynamic where it's like, they both made each other the person that they are right now. The Joker killed Batman's parents, or as Jack Napier. And then, Batman accidentally, because it was an accident, Batman accidentally made the Joker by letting Jack Napier fall into the vat of chemicals. Obviously Batman didn't know that, initially when he found him in the Axis chemical plant, that it was the people who killed his parents. But there's a scene later on where where Bruce Wayne is at Vicky's apartment, and he's like, he's trying to tell him, like, oh, I'm Batman, but the Joker shows up, and Bruce Wayne attempts to fight him, and the Joker tells it, like, he pulls out, like, a little tiny revolver, and he goes, do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And Bruce Wayne stops for a second, and he's like, wait, what? And Joker shoots him, but obviously he managed to, figure out some way to escape that, and, make it out alive. And so in the final clock tower sequence, right before the punch-up, Batman says to the Joker, excuse me, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Because Bruce Wayne remembers that's what the guy said when he shot the parents. And I'm like, oh shit, that's some, like, actual, like, good continuity. That is, like, really actually well thought out. And I do like that. Obviously, I would prefer if they did keep it, the same. But, you can't keep it all the same every single time. Because they would just, be repetitive and, people would be like, okay, bring us, do something new. So, I do like the fact that they did that. What I don't like is Alfred bringing Vicki Vale into the Batcave. That, I can fully admit right there. That is straight BS. Like, why the fuck would Alfred let someone into the Batcave without Bruce's permission? It's still like, why would you do that? So yeah, I can fully admit that's stupid. But Tim Burton has gone on to say that it was his idea to have Alfred let Vicki Vale into the Batcave, and to have the Joker kill Batman's parents instead of Joe Chill. Which, yeah, like I said, the Joker killing Batman's parents, it works for this film, and I do like it. Alfred letting Vicki Vale into the Batcave, on the other hand, it's straight up stupid, and I don't get why they did it. So, yeah, I really don't get why they did that, but sure, go ahead. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this. Final thoughts on Batman, released in 1989. I fucking love it. This is still, to this day, one of my favorite Batman movies, if not my favorite Batman movie of all time. It was the first Batman movie I ever saw, so there is a big nostalgia part of this film. But even without that, it's still a very fucking good superhero movie. I would still put this up here with Superman 1 and 2, like the first two X-Men movies, and even some of the new shit now, like with the Batman, and some of the Avengers stuff. I would still put this up there as one of the best superhero movies ever made. And it rightfully fucking deserves it, because this shaped what superhero movies became, like, in the early part of the 90s. Because we had Dick Tracy in 1990, which I know wasn't a superhero movie. Which took, like, the city aesthetic from this film and made it into, like, a comic strip sort of thing. And I love that. And it also inspired the first Ninja Turtles movie from 1990 with the darker, more, like, edgy sort of, style. So this film is very inspirational for not only superhero movies, but other movies in general. So you have to still give this movie credit for really inspiring the whole superhero genre as a whole. I feel like that the first two Superman movies and this right up there as some of the most influential movies ever made. Which is why I have no doubt in my mind giving this film an A+. It is an absolute perfect superhero movie and one of the best Batman movies ever made. Go and check it out. Whatever you can. I would prefer you guys to get the 2010 Blu-ray, which is the copy I'm holding here, or get the Steelbook, or get the Digipack, like the Diamond edition. Any one of those. It's I believe it's all the 2010 disc, and you get basically what the film looks like in theaters, without the stupid blue tint and the stupid Dolby Atmos only track with the 4K. You could probably easily buy this on Amazon for like $5-10. Go ahead and do it. It's absolutely worth it. Or buy it on well, actually no, you can buy it on streaming services now. It's the 4K transfer, but yeah. So yeah, guys. So that really ends it for this week of my first Batman marathon. Stay tuned for next week where I'll be discussing Batman Returns, released in 1992. And, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can click down there at my username to go and check out my channel. Or click up at my profile picture, wherever it is on the screen. Make sure to also hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out. And you can click over here, I think, to check out the latest 2 videos. Also check out, again, the links in the description below for the 4K review that I was talking about earlier with the side-by-side comparisons or the comparisons between the old track and the new track. And also check out the soundtrack link in the description below. Also, follow me on my social media pages, so, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because I do post whenever movie reviews are coming out. And also follow me on Twitch, because I'm going to be doing some live streaming in the summer, too. So, yeah. And, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review. And stay tuned for next week, where I'll be discussing Batman Returns, released in 1992. I started out like a motherfucker, but fuck it, I'm going with it anyway. It's already near the end. I've been recording for almost fucking 50 minutes. Whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next week for the Batman Returns review. And enjoy yourselves. Live long and prosper. Out.